Hey, Dragon Dreamers. Gina Virginia Casella here, and welcome to Story Species Story Medicine Extra Strength. When we share our stories, we give and receive medicine. One of the best ways to heal is with the earth. And that's exactly what we do with each other right here on Story Species Story Medicine Extra Strength. Ready to take your medicine? Hey everybody, Gina Virginia Casella here, and a big welcome to you, especially a big welcome to all of our new Dragon Dreamers who are finding us, right? We put it out there. We are in search of Soul Tribe, and we are finding Soul Tribe. March 14th, we had our first ever conference, and we were so fortunate to have Suz Gallaher. She was supposed to present at the next conference, Summer Days, and ended up presenting at Promise of Spring. And you know what? She's our guest today on Story Species, Story Medicine. And you know what we're going to talk about? Volume 2 of The Little Ones. So those of you who are not familiar with Suz Gallaher, let me just introduce her a little bit before I bring her to the stage. Right here on Story Species, Story Medicine, Extra Strength. So this is Suz's second book. It looks the same as the first one, except it's got a different cover. I've got the first one here. And this book is like a slash oracle. So you can read it beginning, middle, end, cover to cover. You can just flip through it. And that's what I would like to do today. I've got the PDF version of volume 2. And what else do I want to show you here? Oh, yes. In case you're not familiar with Suz, let me read her biography for you. Susan Gallaher, better known as Suz, is the founder and creator of the Heartspace Center for Creative Change, co-founder of the Inner Awareness Institute and Love Out Loud initiative. For over 30 years, she's worked as a spiritual guide, mentor, teacher, holding space for transformation through individual and group work retreats and in-depth training programs. And you know what? I forgot to mention this as well. I always get ahead of myself. This is actually the more than the 20th anniversary of the Little One's Diaries. And so it's really cool that volume 2, I'm going to have to double check with Suz if it's actually officially out yet, but it was worth noting, 20-year anniversary. The Little One's Diary, the first one, it all began with a quiet night under the stars, Suz listening intensively, faithfully journaling. Each night it started and it continued on with volume 2, wholly open, original writings, learning the map of herself, defaulting to learning about the rules of the mind, to believe in oneself, to believe in others. And this diary, this journaling really transformed into kind of like an archetype within itself. That's why it's an oracle, because the writing itself took on an energy of its own. And the way volume 1 ends is somewhat intense. It ends with Suz being somewhat frustrated with her spirit guides, frustrated with angels, and having an openness to categorize and yet not get hung up on categories like angels. But there's one point in volume 1 where Suz expresses anger, like we all do, like, why do we have to learn these lessons? Why does life have to be so challenging? Why can't we learn lessons the other way? And something I'm interested about diving deep with Suz today is talking about, like, how did you move on from volume 1 to volume 2? Because it was so powerful for her. And so before I get even more ahead of myself, let me bring Suz Gallaher to the stage. She's very empowering to have conversations with, and you can find her book link right there in the chat. And I also put the link from her presentation, which was all about dreams, from the March 14th conference that we had. So Suz, big welcome to you. Welcome to Story Species, Story Medicine. I've been missing you since the conference, the conference blues, if that's what you want to call it. We had a tight little community. So how are you? You look great. Did you get a haircut?
Yeah, I cut it myself. So, yeah. But yes, I did get a haircut, and I have missed you so much too. It is. We spent a lot of time together and never ran out of things to talk about. And so I was thrilled and delighted that you asked me to come back on Story Species, Story Medicine, because stories are who we are.
And your books, volume 1 and now volume 2, are a testament to that, because I'm struggling for vocabulary, but I almost want to call it a sigil. Like a sigil is a decoration, right? And
Right.
words are shapes in themselves. Letters are shapes. Sentences are shapes. And you can almost think of the entire work as a living, breathing energy in on its own, not just one voice, but collective voices speaking and guiding to the little one, which is you, and through you, all of us, the hollow bone that you are.
Yes.
So, yeah, and like the conference blues, like we were talking every day, all this prepping and planning, and then we had the conference. It was such a celebration, and then we connected the day after, and then that was it. It's like, okay, now we're tired, moving on, and now I'm moving on with preparing for the next conference, and it's just funny because you were going to present at that one, but we were lucky to have you at the last one. And it really worked out that you're available today, because all the other Tuesdays are pretty much going to be the presenters for the next conference. So
Right.
the timing was really perfect.
As it usually is.
Yeah. So I'm always full of questions, but I have a question written down to help me keep on track here. And then I thought, Suz sent me the PDF, so at some point I'll read from it. I don't know what I'm going to read. I was scrolling through it and I thought, you know what? Something we didn't do last time was just open it to a random page. So I thought, why don't we do that this time? Maybe that's why I couldn't decide on a page, because the universe wants me to wait until, all about the timing. What do you think about that? Are you okay with that?
I'm great with that.
Okay, so when I was introducing you, this is part of my question here. So I found that book volume 1, I keep calling it book 1, but volume 1 was a very supportive document. It basically applies to everybody, even though it was targeted for you, the little one. Anybody can pick up this book, any age, any gender. Really doesn't matter what your life circumstance is, because you can apply the knowledge skills forward, case by case scenario. So that's a beautiful thing, and a testament to it being the oracle. I found when I was reading through it, it was really honest, volume 1, because there's times, and we've had little laughs about it before, because somewhere in the earlier pages, it's like, hey, you want $500? Just ask for it. Oh, it's that simple. And it's like, okay, how many of us out there have been asking for $500 or this or that, and we're told, oh, it's that simple, but these things don't manifest, right? And it's because we learn that we have a lot of homework to do. There's deep introspection that goes along with it. And so as volume 1 carries on, it's like, okay, you and your guides are getting the hang of it, but somewhere near the end, I don't remember where exactly, but somewhere near the end, you express frustration. And not to hold you to your words, but you use the word angry, anger. And when I was reading that part, I totally related, because it's like, geez, like she's getting to the end of her book and she expressed in the beginning frustration. And at the end of the book, you should be, wrapping this up and everything ends on a happy note. And Suz is like a millionaire and has all of her things manifested, the end, right? Like, isn't that how this is supposed to end? And it doesn't end that way. It doesn't. Um, and I think that's a good thing. But of course, at the time, you don't realize that, right? And so I was just wondering if you could speak to that, and then I've got lots more to build on about it.
Sure, I'd be happy to speak about that. As I recall, I um, I know specifically what it was about, and but that's not really my story to share. But it had anyway. I was angry and I felt betrayed. And I think at one point I said, "Will you ever stop testing me?" I felt like, ah, it's like I'm doing everything. I'm doing my best here. I'm paddling as fast as I can. It's just, and then like out of the blue, like the bottom fell out. And so I was mad and I felt betrayed. I felt bereft. It's here like all is well, everything's okay. And then boom, the bottom drops out of my world. So yeah, I was pretty mad. And they kept saying, all is well, all is well, all is well. And they addressed my concerns and they said, be patient. You're going to look back on this and you're going to see everything is exactly as we told you it would be. But, you know, this, the Little One Diaries series is about a spiritual journey. And it's like, I believe every person goes through a similar series of circumstances. You know, we discussed last time that I didn't volunteer to write a book. I was instructed to just pull all of the teachings that I've been receiving together. So, I did. And I didn't leave anything out. And, part of me being pissed was just, that's part of it, and I could have made it, left that part out, but that wouldn't be real and that wouldn't be authentic. And the bottom line is that this is all about authenticity. This is like showing up naked in, um, you know, it's like I got nothing. That's the New Jersey coming out. But but it had to be real, and so that's you got it. It's real.
Absolutely. And as you're talking, I'm like, yes, 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 because it is authentic, right? And that's the healed healer. Those are the indicators of a healed healer, somebody who's been able to transform the trauma into treasures, and the humility that comes with the authenticity, because a lot of people, they just play it off like, oh, their life is always perfect, or they just have this beautiful energy around them, so everything in their life is beautiful. And it's like, well, we all come from different backgrounds and privileges, and being raw and authentic, because when it comes to relating to people, especially from the perspective of the oracle and being the hollow bone and information coming through, it's like, you nailed it. It's the hero's journey. Like, it's a journey. You can call it the hero's journey. You can call it Dark Night of the Soul. I wrote poof state when you were talking, because I didn't know this until I did my shamanic training, but eagle condor, I knew this before, is the level of energy, right? So it's just the level of spirit. Great. But I was personally really taken back about this business of the poof state, because it's what you described as the whole bottom just falling out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what incarnations is going on? And how could this even possibly be unfolding at the level of eagle condor? Like, for me personally, that just added to the confusion. And I didn't understand it at the time. But when you look back, at my life, your life, everybody individual who's going through this crap, let's call it what it is, the journey, or, you know, tomato seems to be the same thing. But like the poof state is, it's almost like an indigenous alchemy where you're dead and you make the quantum leap. There is no alchemical building blocks at this point. You either die and reform, become something else, or you die in the sense where this matrix is over. And in order for that matrix to be over, that's the heartache, because everything about that matrix is over. Okay, well, who's talking to me about it as all this crap is unfolding in my life and your bills aren't getting paid? And that's the literal level of snake, the biological level. You know, we feel hungry, we feel tired, we feel thirsty, and we are emotional. We are emotional, spiritual, sovereign beings. And so even just expressing yourself freely to your spirit guides is really big. And even telling them off, if you will. Like I didn't get a sense you were telling them off, but there was a very clear I'm frustrated attitude. I've told my guides off in the past, no disrespect intended, but it's like, what am I doing? What are you doing? And that was before I found out about intrusive entities. So I was going to ask you about that too. Have you ever felt like, oh shoot, I think one of my guides aren't even one of my guides. Maybe they're an intrusive entity and that's what's causing this confusion. I've already thrown a lot at you. What do you think about anything I just said, Suz? And I can reiterate what I said too if you need me to.
I have not had, let me say this. I have experienced unsavory entities, let's say, but never in relationship to my guides, in that I know their frequency. We had discussions, and I believe some of it is in the first volume, some of it is in the second volume. I was really uncomfortable with what to call them and who they are. Are they angels? Are they messengers? Are they star people? You know, who are they? And I didn't want to get caught up in that ego stuff that goes along. You know, I'm good with just being a hollow bone, and I try to keep as hollow as I can, you know, and every once in a while, that cosmic roto-rooter will come in and make sure that I am as clean as possible. But, and I have experienced entities who did not necessarily have my best interest at heart. But when I talk to my guides, I know who they are. I can feel them, and I know that energy signature. And I feel very safe with that. They did a thing for me one time. I think this is in the second volume. And because I asked them specifically, you know, who are you and why are you? And I'm feeling a little crazy here. And they said something to me to the effect of, we're your teachers, we're your guides, and we're messengers. And they said, if you look up the word angel, it means messenger. And then what they did was they said, see, we're the good guys. We're wearing the white hats. And I saw very briefly this image of about 9 spirit guides, all with white cowboy hats on. So they goof around a lot. And I appreciate that because I've got a quirky sense of humor myself. But it's like, see, we're wearing the white hats. So
Wow, that's very powerful. And, I bet when you were writing your journal, your relationship becomes more solid, if you will, with your guides. And I was wondering, so there's volume one and then there's volume two. So did you like finish volume one and then years went by and volume two started, or volume two was literally right after volume one and you're just publishing it now?
Well, I kind of randomly, I just kept writing. So I just kept writing. So I got guidance to stop volume one at day 93. Volume two picks up at day 94. And that's kind of the way it rolled. This is also the 25th anniversary. So volume two is the 25th anniversary as well. That was originally published back in 2001, and I don't have any. I mean, I'm out of all of those original copies, which is why we had to do the 25th anniversary. But I know that the time was right for the reintroduction. And the focus of volume two, volume one is called, the subtitle is Taking the Boards Off the Windows. So in the beginning of that volume, I didn't even know what was possible, what was available beyond the illusion of my boarded up windows. So volume one was about taking those boards down and seeing what's there and owning my personal power, because that had been my invitation to the universe, is that I want to live authentically. Well, it's just not like reading a book and it's done. You have to live it. And it's the living of it that is the blessing, and that's where the growth is. And that's why I refer to them as the curriculum that I followed, throughout that growing period. And so volume two is, the subtitle is Great Fullness of Heart. And that's different from having a grateful heart, because, of course I have a grateful heart. But great fullness of heart is a state of being, is a state of consciousness, where we live from that heart space, where we become that heart space. And so the teachings are deeper. They're more focused, again, on the application, always on the application, but taking things to a different level, taking me to a different level.
Very interesting. I like that. Years ago, I was working with open heart, just this mantra, open heart, open heart. Then it transformed into um, clear heart, open heart, clear heart. And then it was this triangle thing, open heart, clear heart, protected heart. And it just seemed to help me center and ground my heart space. But then it started it got out of control. It was like awakened heart, this heart, that heart. And I think it was just like everything comes from the heart. On a literal biological level, maybe it comes from the gut, but on a spiritual, emotional, it comes from the heart. And the heart always wins, it always rules. So if you're not in a good space, you're probably going to tell somebody off who doesn't even deserve it if you're not self-regulated, right?
Right.
And so all of this is very relevant to me. And it reminds me of Greg Braden, because he talks about being heart-centered. And when you have brain-heart harmony, I call it brain-gut-heart harmony, but whatever, it sends the universe a message that all systems are in check. Right. So when you were writing volume 1 and you were having these moments of frustration, you were sending the universe a message that you were not in check, and your spirit guides were coming to help balance that and to get you more heart-centered. And then now you've got volume 2, and this all systems in check seems to be building and building and building the authenticity. And then I wrote Robert Moss's name when you were talking, because he wrote a great book called Sidewalk Oracles. And he basically advocates that the world around you is walking, talking oracles.
Yes.
The tree could be an oracle. You're standing at the bus stop talking to a stranger. That stranger, if you just work with the element of play and imagination, could be a spirit guide disguised as somebody in the local community, And so I feel like every time you talk, the spider web in my brain just makes all these connections, pulling it all together. And these books, volume 1 and volume 2, are the center of that spider web, because it's a living, breathing sidewalk oracle that you can just take anywhere with you. So any thoughts about any of that?
I'm always amazed every time we talk that we are so in tune with each other, and the language that you use is something that is very similar. The metaphor is so similar to the metaphor that I use. And the title of the 3rd volume, which I'm working on now, is called Weaving a Web of Grace. So when you're talking about this web and all of the connections, that is the web of grace that's being woven. And each of us is the weaver.
Yes, every time you talk, I'm like, yes. Like, I've got myself on mute, but behind the scenes, yeah, we are the weavers of our own web. We are the flow. We are the ebb. We are the weavers. We are the web.
Yes, we are the strings.
The water metaphor. See, now I'm getting into like sexualized metaphors. The juicy wateriness of the womb and tomb, the female body, the water coming down the sea, all of this is interconnected. I think you should get an artist to paint a picture of this kind of stuff, to go in your book. When you said Web of Grace, that was very powerful for me. That's a fantastic book for a title, and a fantastic title for a book. Something that I play with in my mind a lot is where is the grace in disgrace? And a lot of people, when you said spider web of grace, I was like, ooh, because a lot of people, they picture the spider web all crumpled up, it's all sticky together, it's a disgrace. But where's the growth? Where's the lessons? What's the alchemy? How can you take all this sugar and rotting plums and fruit and transform it into a fine wine? You can make a web of grace, and then just now as I'm speaking, I'm thinking out loud about the underworld and the different chambers that are there, because a lot of people, they think the underworld is hell, is this place of torment and evil. Like, yeah, some parts of it are, but essentially it's the past. So anything that's in the past is there, including the good stuff. And so this web, this grace, disgrace, it's all there. It's just a matter of you picking and choosing and figuring it out. And I feel like that's where a lot of people struggle, because like, if I used to steal cars and rob banks, like, that's not good, right? And let's say I'm like, well, that's not me anymore. I don't do those things anymore. I don't want anything to do with that. Well, where's the grace and disgrace? Well, you know what? You got to be pretty clever and smart and good with time and that kind of stuff if you're going to be stealing cars and robbing banks, right? Like, there's intelligence that comes with that. So that would be grace in disgrace. And so, assuming this was a real life example, I don't steal cars and whatever. Maybe I do. But But the point is, it's like, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. That's who I am. And that's making the disgrace grace, is now using those criminal skills for the greater good. Like maybe I could help, solve crimes or whatever instead. So just, wow, opened up a big can of worms. Great title for a book. Any thoughts on what I said? I always got lots to say.
No, I love that you went to disgrace. Weaving a web of grace, for me, sometimes when you think of a spider web, you think that it is a trap. But this is a web of grace. And when you study, the web building process, is we are the weavers of that. We choose how we're going to do it. We are self-determined when we look at, and we're sovereign in that. There's no right or there's no wrong. And I think that that's the most important aspect of this. We have nothing to be ashamed of. We are whole, we are perfect, and we are complete in every moment. So we make choices, and sometimes those choices serve us and sometimes they don't. But the truth of us is that we get to choose again and again and again. We are the choosers of our experience. We're not the victim. We are the choosers. And when we stay present, then we're guided by our open heart, which is the compass that leads us home. And so if we go back to the story of how angry and betrayed I felt, what did I feel angry and betrayed about? A story that I was telling myself. So I had manufactured a story, right or wrong. It was a story to which I had become attached. But it was based on illusion, not on the truth of who I am. So it was that attachment that caused the pain. And it was that attachment that caused this sense of betrayal. But in that sense, it was self-betrayal. Nobody can betray me except myself. And so that was a huge lesson that I learned, from an invaluable lesson that I learned from that experience.
Thank you for sharing out. I wrote down, stories can be toxic, because I always advocate, stories are medicine, but in truth, stories can become very toxic because we stay stuck in them. And people, especially who are struggling with addictions, we tend to think of addictions as like drugs, but addictions can be something like working out too much, because it's an addiction to stop thinking about something. So you constantly busy yourself with working out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we do what's called trauma bonding. We find other people who are stuck in their crappy stories. We relate with them. We think we're finding healing, which to some degree we are, because we're relating, but then we stay stuck in that and we don't go anywhere. And then it becomes a toxic ritual, because it's like every time we meet, all we do is talk about our crappy lives, our crappy stories. We never talk about, like, what are the next steps? And that's where people can really get stuck. And epigenetics matters. So if you're around people who are always negative, that can be a rough one. And when you were talking about the spider web, I wrote the word veil. This is stuff we already know, but it just came to the front of my mind because when you were speaking, I could imagine like there's the spider web, it's a veil, and like you were describing, you get to decide. You're weaving the web. Somebody might be trying to influence you, but hey, this is my story. This is my web. There is no right or wrong. So you get to decide what's here and what's there, in front of the veil, behind the veil. Um, when you were talking about timing, I remember one time I thought I was losing my mind. I wasn't taking any drugs or anything. I was just hanging out outside. It was a beautiful sunny day. And all of a sudden I saw like a rainbow string. And I was like, huh? And it just the way it moved, I thought, oh my God, a rainbow ghost. I'm hallucinating. But it was actually some really big, long spider web. And I mean, I know spiders jump and that's how they build their web, but this spider was very ambitious because it was very tall and long. And so the spider must have been waiting for the right moment, the right wind, in order to go like descending down, letting it silk out, landing wherever it landed, and making it a point to give extra space so it could, you know. So I just thought about all those things when you were talking, and it reminded me about just one thought leads to another. It reminded me about humpback whales because I was just watching a documentary on humpback whales, and this female is having a baby, and the masculine creates a veil. And it kind of reminded me of like a spider web. It wasn't in the shape of a spider web, but just that fogginess, just to give her space and privacy, you know? And I don't know. I thought there was a lot of connecting and this business of the spider web and coming out from behind the spider's pupil. Just so important. Um, so many levels, so many levels. Any thoughts you want to add to that?
Only that I think I just am so in awe of nature, and that the spiders weaving their webs. Just I'm sitting in front of a window, and as we started, a breeze came by, and all of these whirly things from maple trees were seedlings, seed pods were flying around. And I just am so in awe of the interconnectedness of everything. When I was given the title for the third volume, it's called Weaving a Web of Grace. So I, of course, got myself a loom to teach myself to weave. And that's another story for another day. But it's, we are so surrounded by magnificence. Whether it's the spider or the ant or the trees or the clouds, just everything is a reminder of how magnificent every creature, every blade of grass, everything is on this journey of life. And, the Little One Diaries is a celebration of that. And it starts right where we are because I had been told most of my life that I was not whole, perfect, and complete. And I had plenty of people who were happy to share with me the parts of me that did not meet up to what their expectations of what whole, perfect, and complete was. And, so in the beginning of the Little One Diaries, it's like, oh, really? Wait a minute. And then it's the building, and it's the building, and it's the building. And where we go from not knowing to knowing and experiencing things in different ways.
Yeah, it's like you almost have to deprogram all those other thoughts that other people imposed on you and the subconscious programming that you were, and that's all part of the pain and agony and this business of the poof state and having a blurred sense of identity. It just, so if you can have these very conversations at an early age and give space for people, like if you can give the world space to rotate and do its thing, that would be ideal, for everybody. Before I start reading from the book, volume 2, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
I don't think so. I think we should just dive in and
Okay.
see what Spirit has for us today.
I'm excited, So just to remind everybody, if you're tuning in, we are connecting with Suz Gallaher about the second volume of The Little Ones. And this is celebrating the 25th anniversary. So really exciting. I've got the PDF version here. So I can't see you, but you can see me. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to scroll down 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now I'm going to scroll up 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I'm going to go down. I don't know. I'm going to spell Suz's name. S-U-Z. I'm going to go up and spell my name. G-I-N-A. Okay. What page am I on? I'm on the cover. Okay. So Little One Diaries, volume 2. Okay. I'm going to open my eyes and scroll while I'm doing it so I can make sure. Okay. I'm going to spell Suz's name. S-U-Z going down. I'm going to spell my name, G-I-N-A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, it really wants me to read from the beginning. Okay, I don't know what I'm reading here. I'm reading page 10. Hey, isn't that synchronicity? I was working with the number 10.
Yes.
Okay, this is day 104. So I'm going to read all of day 104, even if it's on multiple pages. Okay. Day 104, page 10. Little one, we observe your confusion and pain, yet we also witness your determination, and we bless you for this. You create suffering for yourself when you permit past pain to encroach upon this current moment. The past has no power over your present or future experience without your invitation, intention, and consent. You are the chooser of your experience, always and in all ways. Dear heart, and there's an uppercase on heart, dear heart, you have already created your deepest desire. You need only open to receive its gifts and blessings. Accept the abundance of grace that you have created with a graceful heart. You have much to learn about receiving graciously that which you have created. At times, you battle yourself to exhaustion before you are willing to receive your entitlements as a beloved child of the limitless universe. You desire these gifts in your deepest being, yet you resist with such intensity. The fulfillment of your desire is love manifested in its purest form, love of the divine for the beloved. This is the sweet sigh of your soul calling your name. Hear it, receive it, for it has been yours since the beginning of time. Nothing is withheld from you, beloved one. You have received many beautiful gifts in celebration of your birthday, and truly we rejoice in this occasion as well. Consider the precious beauty that you have received: lovely flowers and plants, wind chimes, wise words, expressions of love, and great kindness, and a mirror to reflect your own beauty back to you. This was the hardest for you to receive, was it not? It is time to appreciate not only the gifts that you receive, but the gifts that you bring as well. Do you not understand this? This is the gift of the mirror, to accurately perceive your own beauty and to remind you that your image is God's image also. Only when you truly recognize the power of your gifts can you truly experience the highest expression of gratitude, gratefulness of heart. If you do not appreciate and understand your gifts, then you cannot use them fully. Gratefulness comes from recognizing and using your gifts efficiently, sharing, giving, receiving, blessing wholly and whole, inhaling and exhaling grace in each breath. You have a great understanding of the power and potential of a grateful heart, but you limit the concept of gratefulness. Hence, you limit gratefulness by constricting your ability to receive. Expand, stretch beyond your self-imposed constraints. Allow the empty places to be filled. You are struggling with this teaching, and we ask you to be patient with us a while longer, because this is a pivotal piece of your intuition. Gratefulness must include appreciation without resistance. Consider the grace of surrender. Coupe de grace. Surrender to bliss. Surrender to the ecstasy of your soul's song. If it gives you comfort, you have put up a good fight. But little one, you are no match for the opposition. How could you expect to defeat unconditional love and unspeakable joy? It is an unfair contest. Dear heart, because you were outmatched from the beginning, open your heart to receive the fullness of your beauty. I just lost my spot there. Hold on. Okay. Open your heart to receive the fullness of your beauty, your grace, your light, and your love. Then, and only then, will you know great fulfillment of heart. Receive in your deepest being the gifts of love. For when you are full of self, the universe is full as well. When you see the beyond in your own eyes, the resonance of this recognition is felt in the very foundation of the earth. Know that you are the beloved, and that you must answer the beloved's call, for it is the longing of your own soul. Honor your teachers. Um, I lost my spot again. Honor your teachers. All of your teachers recognize. It wants to go to the next page, but it's not letting me finish this one. Okay. Okay, come on, computer. We're almost there. Right. Honor your teachers, all of your teachers. Recognize the lesson of love in every experience. Judge neither yourself nor the lessons that you are learning. Instead, be grateful for a teachable spirit, for the student and the teacher are one. Ask, seek, knock. Be loved, be loved, beloved. That was a wonderful quote. That was very, very amazing. And totally in alignment with everything that we were talking about, right? And even just the fact that it was page 10, and I was stumbling, but it was meant to be on page 10. So I'm having a moment right now because I can't believe the synchronicity, because the way Story Species, Story Medicine kicked off was about me addressing the frustrations that you were feeling. And then here in volume 2, it's continuing on these frustrations. All right. So, what are some thoughts that you have, Suz, about that passage?
Well, clearly this is a lesson for me about opening to receive without resistance. And so this was on my birthday. It probably was my 40th birthday. And I was really struggling with my mother's, let me preface this. My mother's love language was criticism. So when I am having this birthday experience and I'm turning 40, and am surrounded by all of these expressions of love, my 4 sons, friends, and of course Rick, and it's like I don't know how to trust this. I don't know how to receive this gift because there are no strings attached. I only know about those strings that a gift comes with. And so this was a snapshot in pure, unconditional, unattached expressions of love. And it when you're not used to that, it can feel uncomfortable. So this is just they keep saying, open your heart to receive the fullness and look into that mirror your friend Essie gave you, because it's reflecting back who you are in the world. And so when you talk about the veils, it's pulling back the veils and saying, oh, look, here I am, peekaboo.
Peekaboo right over here. If only it was that easy, right?
Yeah.
And Mike Kopp's in the chat. You met him in the conference there. So hi, Michael. If you got any questions for Suz, pop them in there in the chat. I wrote down uncomfortable when you were talking, because isn't that strange? Isn't that so bizarre? And me too, same thing. Why is it difficult to receive? Because we have what it comes down to the rules of the mind. Your beliefs, they make or break you. So even though we don't mean to, we have this belief where if somebody gives us something, it's because they want something from us, or maybe they're doing it out of obligation. You're a mother, flowers from your kids, check off list, they got mom a gift. But really, none of that even applies. Those are just phony stories that somebody else, influenced our story with, and we don't need that. So it's not easy to receive. And this exact message, somebody catching it on today's show, might be the first time where somebody brings it to their attention and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm just like Suz, why can't I receive flowers or even just a compliment? A lot of people will say, oh, you look beautiful today. Oh, that color, it's so complimenting on you. And instead of just saying thank you and leaving it at that, accepting it, we tell them where we bought it. We let them know it was on sale. We compliment them back in return. So in my life, I haven't received a compliment in a while, but like I'm working on that, like just saying thank you. We don't have to have a conversation ongoing about it. Just thank you. I'm not feeding your ego. Just commenting, I like this, done. It doesn't have to. And then, of course, when it comes to money and those insecurities that come with it that we can't deny, we don't have to feel guilt or shame. And that's part of the survival, too. We can't just, for example, I don't know what this is like, but like, um, not everybody can take time off work. A lot of people, they have to work, right? And so even if you met somebody who's a millionaire and you don't even have to work anymore, it's still hard to receive for reasons that are rooted in survival. And that's part of the disassembling of this spider web. I feel like volume 2 is leading very nicely into volume 3. I could go on, but that's what I was thinking of. And those gifts too are typical gifts like flowers that you mentioned. It doesn't have to be big blowout gifts like a brand new car or a vacation, just something very flowers, something homemade, something that doesn't cost anything, like I mentioned, a compliment. So I don't know, anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, I completely agree. And I think that it's things that complements, we're just so programmed. But again, that gets back to the story, species story medicine. Recognize which stories are toxic to us, aren't serving us, and embracing a new story where I am worthy. I am whole, perfect, and complete as I am in this moment. And that allows me to not only receive, but to give from the abundance of my heart, to give more freely. A gift's not a gift if it's not given freely. And so it's in the receiving, we are opening to give as well. It's the law of the open hand, where it's open to give and to receive.
Yes, and this like weaving, like somebody shaping and molding something like clay, the giving and the taking and the alchemizing that goes with it. I always think a lot of things when you talk, and I keep saying that. I like thinking about thinking, and one thought just goes off to another. Michael here has a question. What do you all feel is the reason we feel the need to justify decisions we make to others instead of just trusting ourselves? And I'll let you answer that one, Suz.
Thanks. Michael, that's such a good question. What do I think is the reason? I think we're programmed to look for approval. I think that from just a very early age, we need, as children, we need to have our behavior curated by our parents. What is safe, what isn't safe. But often we've had to justify who we are, why we think this way. If you grow up with any kind of dysfunctional family, it's, well, you don't really think that way. You don't really feel that way. You're overthinking this, where, we give our power away because we're not taught to claim our power. We're not taught to trust ourselves and stand in the truth of who we are. And that's how we are controlled by the opinions, the thoughts, and the social constraints that we as a society have created for ourselves. But in the second volume, especially, they talk about the consensual cultural constraints that we live within, and how our invitation, always an invitation, is to move beyond those, step outside of those. And by doing that, we experience the world in a completely new way.
I mean, why are we justifying ourselves when we don't have to, right? And why are you like this? Why are you thinking that? Like, why do you care? And we respond because we have to respond. We have to justify, and then we get into this habit. When you were talking, I kept circling rules of the mind, because what the mind thinks tends to be realized. So even if you don't mean to, if you're always thinking, well, I'm just a loser, I'm never going to have any money or friends. Well, you know what? Yeah, then you're not going to have any money. You're not going to have any friends. And, well, what makes you a loser, and how do you even define what that means? I like to think of loser on a very basic winner loser. If we were playing a card game and I lost, I'm the loser. That's my healthy interpretation of a loser, right? But that's not what a lot of other people think. And when it comes to our opinions of ourselves, well, your opinion of yourself is the only opinion that matters, and you get to have that opinion. Just like you were talking about the spider web earlier, that's your spider web, your story that you're weaving, nobody else. That's yours. And I had a little laugh when you said dysfunctional, because I haven't heard that word in a while. And every time I hear it, I'm like, don't forget the fun and dysfunctional, because you got to pull out the high quality items, right? Because when you have narcissists around you and they're gaslighting you, and it just, things are not making you really feel like you're losing your mind. Like, you have to laugh it off. And it can even make you hysterical. And intentionally, I have pushed myself to states of hysteria, because I know laughter is the best medicine. And it's like, why would something so serious be funny? It's not funny. But you have to convince yourself that it is funny, that there's fun and dysfunctional, to help you alchemize and get unstuck. Like working with duality. And it on page 10, I don't remember the exact quote, but you were talking about duality, because whatever you are, that's the universe. So if you fill yourself up, then the universe can respond, because the universe is full. But if you're not filling yourself up, well, then the universe isn't filling itself up.
Right.
So now we can get into go ahead, Suz.
Pardon me?
I thought you were going to say something.
Oh.
That's okay. I was going to say, though, that like we could easily slip into a very slippery slope too here, because there's also something that's very triggering, that you've said, not to be all he said, she said statements, but you're not the only one. I say this too. I haven't always said it, but I remember Dr. Alberto Villoldo and Dr. Bruce Lipton and Marissa Peer in particular. I'm not one to throw around names, but those are the names that I throw around. But they were basically saying, like you're saying, you're responsible for anything that happens in your life. You invite it. So even if somebody got into a car accident, or somebody beat them up, or stole their money, or had an affair, or maybe, you're a father raising a child and the kid's like, in their 30s, and it's not even your biological kid. Like, those stories are happening, right? And it's like, well, how could I even invite that in my life?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're holding a mirror up. So whatever energetic level you're on, that's the playing ground that you're playing in. And if you're in that playground, well, that's the kind of crap that happens in that playground. And until somebody tells it like it is, even at the risk of hurting your feelings, like, that's part of the alchemy. And that's what I call owl medicine. Like, does the truth ever hurt? but it does help you move forward. And we can call this living consciously, because if you're not living consciously, then yeah, you get yourself into trouble. But if you live consciously, no, it doesn't mean life is perfect, but at least if you fall, because you know you're going to fall at some point, that's part of alchemy. The spider's web blows to hell over and over again, right? It's not meant to stay together forever. It's meant to twist and turn, to blow apart, and to build again. And what's interesting about spider webs, it's not blocks where you use the same blocks. It's a whole new spider web altogether. Again, working with this poof state. There's a lot of eagle condor in your teachings, I'm finding. But, you know, clearly, I personally resonate. And I know that this can trigger people. It really can. And that's part of the story medicine. Like, who does that girl, Suz Gallaher, think she is, telling me that I'm responsible for the crap? And now this girl, Gina, is reinforcing that. And scientists like Bruce Lipton and whatnot also basically telling you this. Like, yeah, that's a lot to take in. A lot to take in. What do you have to say about any of that?
Well, if you look at the context, that's what they're telling me about. It's what my spiritual guidance is telling me about where I'm stuck in my life. So it's not me telling somebody about, well, you know, you get what you got because that's where you're at. It's that my guides are saying, yep, that's where you are. And this is how you can change it, because that's not really who you are. Limited, constricted, small. You're a child of the limitless universe. You are the beloved of the beloved. You are whole, perfect, magnificent, as all of the creatures in creation are. Everything from source is divine. And so it's the challenging of my thoughts, my beliefs, which are, you know, which were keeping me small. And it's changing that, you know, over the course of time, over the growing season of my life. And, you know, that hopefully that will continue to go on and on and on, is that growing, that embodying the teachings, going back even to volume 1. It's like, oh, I remember that. I don't respond that way anymore. I can see the growth. I can see this growth. I can go back and say, yeah, I need to revisit that a little bit, you know, because I can still get caught up in people pleasing, or, you know, so.
Absolutely. People pleasing is a big one, because when we're children, we intentionally people please. That's actually why the terrible twos are so terrible, because children in that age group are literally in survival mode. They can't really talk, you know, they're still babbling, if you will. And even by the time they get to age 3, they still don't exactly, not able to clearly communicate, but they understand a lot more than what they can communicate, and they learn, even before they're born, to tiptoe around the waters, that they're walking on eggshells. And we all require community, even if we don't want it. We require community. And it's fascinating how infants know this, and they will people please, because that's how important it is. It's really sad, actually. And then we don't even know who we are. And it makes me think about gender issues, because, like, girl, you're having a baby shower, pink for the girl, blue for the boy. Maybe you want a neutral color like yellow or green. But some people, they do experiments where they'll put like their son in a dress, like when they're a baby, because the baby doesn't know any different. But it's like, well, does the baby know any different? Is what I'm challenging. How is that really shaping and molding? Um, or just like if you like you have four boys, you know, maybe Rick had a dream of being a football star and it never happened, but now, he's putting pressure on the boys to join football and they don't want to do that. They want to build birdhouses or do whatever. And so even when we're coming from a place of intention where we want our children to live the hopes and dreams that we didn't have, hey, it's too bad for us. Like the children have their own right to think and feel what they want. So you can see, and I was thinking about my shamanic training too, because we were told, like, when somebody comes to us and says, like, why is this happening to me? I don't like this. This is an injustice. On a literal level of snake, yeah, maybe you got into a car accident, somebody punched you out. But on the level of hummingbird, the mystical level, working with metaphors, what's really going on. And we often find it's like you described, cycles of abuse were stagnant. And these cycles of abuse are ancient, like women in particular, women of color in particular, slaves, um, Canada and the United States, when people came here, land rights, huge deal, because people didn't want people foraging and getting access to free food. So it was important that there was a fence put in place. This food's for us, not for you. And just those themes are still relevant today, even though you personally weren't alive 150 years ago or whatever it was. I'm just kind of ranting now because I was getting passionate. It's like an injustice. Like, if you are not awakened to this, how could you possibly not know? You don't know. You don't. So, any thoughts about that, Suz?
I have a lot of thoughts about everything. I want to go back to what you were talking about, people pleasers, and how our children are programmed to be pleasers, not just at home, but in a school situation. Because after children reach a certain age, they're in school so many hours a day, and they're taught how to think, what they're taught stories. And those stories may or may not be true. Daniel, our youngest son, we started to homeschool when he was in 6th grade. And one of the reasons we did it is just that the school system was just so shame-based. And so I am teaching Daniel. And one of the questions I asked him was, we were talking about the French Revolution and then going back to the empire so getting freedoms and then losing freedoms. So I asked him, how would you feel if you had a freedom and then that freedom was taken away? And he said, well, what kind of freedom are you talking about? Are you talking about the freedom to chew gum or freedom of speech? And I said, you get to choose. I asked you a question. You get to choose how you answer me, whatever you think is right. I just want to hear, I just want to discuss this with you. And he said, what do you mean, whatever I think is right? What kind of teacher are you? Because I wanted to give him the freedom to express his ideas. And, it's like, what kind of teacher are you? That I should trust my own ideas, my own thoughts, So that was a big learning curve for Daniel to have to think on his own. And then we would discuss it, but to value his own ideas.
It's really, really, really powerful, very, very powerful because, I think back to like in the days of Jesus, people were illiterate. The printing press only came out about 400 years ago with King Henry VIII. And even at that time, people were mostly still illiterate, and the Bible wasn't even in English. It was just starting. And so you were told what to think. And if you shared your idea, it was already an idea that somebody else. And so it's just like unnatural, and even the tiptoeing that he was doing, like, well, are you sure you want to hear what I have to say? And clarifying the question, like, are we just talking about something simple like chewing gum, or are we talking about something like freedom of speech? Well, what about the freedom to commit murder? You can do that, but then what are the consequences that come with it?
Yep.
Even if committing murder was legal and you were allowed to just do it, like, there's still consequences. You're going to rub people off the wrong way if you do that kind of stuff. And you could take something like chewing gum and even talking about the freedom in that, because I don't remember where, but somewhere in history, spitting your gum out was considered illegal because horses would eat it and get sick and disease would spread and that kind of stuff. And so you don't think about stuff like that today, but something very simple like bubble gum was actually a really big problem once upon a time. People didn't understand this rubbery substance, but that rubbery substance has all your germs in there. So anyways, I'm just fascinated, like I always am. Michael made a comment too about there are no losers as long as we learn from what the experience offers. That's a good point too, because I feel like, some people, they don't want to learn from the experience. They'd rather be stagnant. That's where they are right now. They're just not there yet on their journey. They're angry and sidetracked by that. So, and he's got a question here that I skipped. Here's a question for you, Suz, from Michael. Do you have advice on how we as an individual and society on breaking free of this program?
I think that it's obvious. I think that it starts with us, that it starts with each of us individually, recognizing that, first recognizing the cultural constraints that we are part of, that consensual cultural constraint, and looking at that and seeing whether that works for us or not. I think what's pivotal for me and what my teaching has been is that my responsibility in this world is to live authentically and to live presently in this moment, which is a challenge for me. I will be the first one to admit it. Just, coming back to what is true right here, right now. And in doing that, I believe that we make a difference. And then we connect with other people who are also waking up. I think inner awareness precedes transformation. That first we have a glimpse of inner awareness, and that's where lasting change comes, from that inner awareness. And as we share that awareness, that's the truth of who we are. That is the capital T truth. And in the presence of that truth, that just resonates out, and we become part of the collective truth. And as that web grows, and we alchemize the world in which we live. I don't know what that tipping point is. The only thing I know is that I have to behave as authentically as possible. And I will share that with whomever, however I can. But it's not about being preachy. It's just about living from an open heart at the soul level. And as we do that, that's when transformation can happen. But until I am in that state of inner awareness, where we have clarity, where we can express our truth and not make anyone wrong, but just share what we know to be authentically true. That's where our power is. And that's our invitation, is to stand in our own power.
Very well said. Even the language invitation, we're always being invited. And this business of the spider web keeps coming back, the metaphor of the spider web. And the spider web has a rainbow shine glimmer to it. So when you speak of glimpses, I'm like, you got to hire an artist so they could draw a picture of all of this stuff. Wow. And I wrote the word cookie cutter a while ago, this cookie cutter shape and ideal that we have to fit into. And what do? Well, we keep changing ourselves to fit the mold. Forget the mold. Forget the mold completely. And being comfortable with the uncomfortable, having certainty in the uncertainty, because that's ultimately how you move forward. And when you were, those of you who might just be catching this now, earlier I read from Suz's book, volume 2 of the Little One's Diary, page 10, and there was lots of synchronicity that keeps coming back. And part of that synchronicity was, I don't know if it was page 11 or 12, but you talked about your song. And that was powerful to me, because I have a belief, I picked this up, I don't know, like a decade ago or something, that everybody has a special song, just like we have a special energy signature. And that song, we can't hear it because there's too much noise around us. That if we can go in deep introspection where it's quiet, then we can hear. And what we hear is part of our song, part of the bits and pieces that have to do with us personally, on a deeper subconscious level. So I was just, I always find this very fascinating. I'm noticing Jason Missing Time is 420 is tuning in. Hi, Jason. And Jason's still thinking about chewing gum. He says, so I'm going down a weird rabbit hole about chewing gum. So yeah, fill us in on those details, Jason. And Jason randomly helped monitor the conference Promise of Spring last time. And actually, Jason, I opened up a Discord group. I joined a Discord because I was looking for you. So I tried to make friends with you because I'd love for you to host the next conference. So it's just another synchronicity that Jason is live today, and just even synchronicity that Jason was monitoring last time Suz was presenting for Promise of Spring. So today is just jam-packed full of synchronicity. And more synchronicity is this Thursday or Friday, I forget exactly. is the new moon. And the new moon is kind of when we even first started talking. And then the conference was around the new moon. And now we're connecting again, new moon. This business of weaving your wisdom in the dark, the spider web, synchronicity, synchronicity, synchronicity. Like if somebody has a project to do about synchronicity, you could use this episode as a project for that, you know.
Yes.
But I've been chatting your ear off, Suz. Do you have any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to share about volume 2 of the Little One's Diary, or anything in general?
I think that we've covered a lot of 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 what the Little One Diaries Volume 2 is. It's about gratefulness of heart, and gratefulness of heart being a place where our consciousness is alchemized, and we move up to that next level. It's like jumping a ring. And it's about a soul's journey, and it's not all lollipops and roses, but it is true and authentic and grace filled and love filled, and it's a journey of grace, a journey of bliss. And
Well, I'm looking forward to reading the rest of it. I just got my copy yesterday, so give me some time to read the rest of volume 2. I'm looking forward to it. Suz, I can't thank you enough for being on Story Species, Story Medicine. Returning guest, obviously need to have you back. Need to come back for volume 3. It would be cool to have you back to talk about like volume 1, 2, and 3 all together. But it'd be cool just to have one focused on volume 3 when that comes out too. And I wonder, even like just the discussions that we've had today, how that might even impact your book, or you know, just with these metaphors now, or maybe there's an artist out there listening who's, you know, reach out to Suz if you're that artist who can take our conversation that we had today and make a picture for her. But I really want to thank you for being a guest here, returning guest on Story Species, Story Medicine. It is always a pleasure to have you with us, Suz. Really appreciate you.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. It's always a joy to talk to you, because we do slip into this timelessness, and whole new realms open up. So I'm very grateful, and I look forward to, I'm really looking forward to the Summer Days conference that you're having. And, as always, I send you my love and gratitude.
Thank you so much, Suz. I'm going to remove you from this stage. Thank you again, everybody. Story Species, Story Medicine. Let me celebrate Suz's book one more time here for you. This is The Little One's Diaries, Volume 2. And I've got the link there. There's multiple links in the chat. One link is to get the book, The Little One's Diary, Volume 1. Volume 2 is going to be available, I'm sure, any day now. And also, if you wanted to catch Suz's presentation from Promise of Spring, you can find that on my playlist called The Conferences. So on that note, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. Show me some lovin'. If you wanted to quickly copy and paste this one here from the chat, that'll take you right there. If you are an artist and you are listening to our conversation today and you can create something for Suz, reach out to her. She would absolutely love that. And if you're like Jason and you're having interesting thoughts about gum or anything else that we chit-chatted about, let us know. Even in years from now, I love reading the conference. And thank you, Jason, for putting the Amazon link. You can get it on Amazon now. It's also available on Kindle. I was on there yesterday snooping around. And I, too, look forward to seeing everybody for Summer Days. You can get all that information on Buy Me a Coffee. So on that note, if you would like to be a guest on Story Species, Story Medicine, reach out to yours truly. Absolutely adore to have you on my show. When you share your story, you share your medicine. We're a story species, and stories are our medicine. Beaver dams we are in our own rights. All right, everybody, take care of yourselves. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye for now.